Without any intention to downplay Ichinose's character, I strongly believe that the relationship between Ayanokoji and Kei is way better compared to Ichinose's relationship with Ayanokoji. It's not about which one loves Ayanokoji more, but simply because Karuizawa Kei's story is more enjoyable to read. Their feelings of love are pretty much subjective and hard to judge, but at least in terms of writing, Karuizawa Kei's story leaves a more positive impression, and also hits harder when the moment actually comes. It's honestly unfair to compare them in this area, but let's just take a look at it one by one. Let's start with the most obvious reason, which is the fact that the relationship between Ichinose and Ayanokoji was simply immoral. No matter how you try to justify it, the fact that Ichinose tried to make a move on a man who has a girlfriend is not something that is genuinely sweet to taste. Back when Kei started to get close to Ayanokoji, she was also already in a relationship with Hirata, but since we know it was just pretending, we found ourselves rooting for her. Not to mention that when Kei finally realized her feelings, she decided to end her relationship with Hirata, so Ayanokoji and Kei relationship was pretty much pure and honest. However, the same thing cannot be said about how Ichinose gets close to Ayanokoji. During the Volume 9 second year arc, the whole school already knew that Ayanokoji was dating Kei, but Ichinose still made a move on him no matter how she tried to disguise it. Whatever her intention behind her action, I found it pretty hard to actually like how she tried to get closer, and it became even worse when Ayanokoji didn't try to put a line between them. Ayanokoji let Ichinose get close to him because she needed to give Ichinose motivation to stand again, and Ichinose got close thinking that she still had a chance. Even from the beginning, their relationship is far from being a sweet teenage love like what we had experienced with Kei, but more similar to a husband who has an affair with his coworker because his wife cannot satisfy him. Their relationship feels too dark and mature, and cheating is not a genre that could be liked by anyone, so it's no wonder if the readers will prefer Ayanokoji's relationship with Kei. Not to mention that Ichinose's character development still leaves the community divided whether they like it or not. Instead of supporting her, looking at the dark aura around Ichinose just makes me want to keep my distance from her, and hope she will never do anything bad to Kei. However, the matter of cheating or adult relationships is purely subjective for everyone. It's understandable if you like it because it shows the darker side of relationships, or how the love and pressure could change Ichinose dramatically. But if we take Kei as a comparison, Ichinose's love story still lacks in a lot of aspects. For example, let's try to see the reason why Ayanokoji and Kei relationship was so enjoyable to read. There are a lot of reasons, but one thing that strikes me the most is the contrast of their personalities. Ayanokoji was a socially awkward guy who was clueless about the opposite sex, while Kei was the cheerful type who teach him about girls, but easily got embarrassed when Ayanokoji used it on her. The contrast of their personalities often results in a very funny and memorable moment, and all those spark of love are pure positive emotion that give you a second-hand happiness. On the contrary, Ichinose and Ayanokoji's interactions are mostly Ichinose being aggressive, while Ayanokoji sit in silence. There are no funny moments or dopamine release, but just a constant anxiety of someone saw them together. It's honestly pretty confusing that Ichinose and Ayanokoji's interaction feels so repetitive to the point we rarely see any progress in their relationship. It was mostly just Ichinose wanting to touch Ayanokoji, and without any warming up, straight to the sex. As if it's not confusing enough, even after the night of promise, they simply go back to the starting line without any promise in future to be together. It needs to be said that Ayanokoji and Ichinose's relationship doesn't follow a regular norm of relationships, and I even doubt what happened between them could be called a love story. Without disregarding Ichinose, the story between Kei and Ayanokoji is way more impactful and actually important to be remembered. Volume 7 is the best example to explain how deep their relationship was. In that volume, Ryuin tortured Kei to recall all of her past trauma and forced her to give him Ayanokoji's name. However, despite being in the lowest situation and the risk of her past spreading to the whole school, she decides to protect Ayanokoji, who surprisingly becomes someone very important to her. That single scene is the reason why Kei could become the most popular light novel girl for 2 years straight, because her strength and sacrifice resonate with a lot of readers, and maybe with Ayanokoji himself. However, Ichinose doesn't have this kind of moment where she could show how much Ayanokoji actually means to her. Both Ichinose and Kei are really dependent on Ayanokoji, but once again, Kei's story is written better compared to Ichinose's. If we compare how Ayanokoji saved them from their past, Ichinose's story once again lacks in comparison. Kei was literally bullied for her entire middle school life, and it left a permanent scar that will keep haunting her for the rest of her life. The entire volume 4 was written to explain how Kei was no longer able to function like a normal human, so she needed to become a parasite just to survive, and Ayanokoji was the host who provided protection for her. We got a clear reason why their relationship needs to exist, but Ichinose's obsession toward Ayanokoji is something that still needs to be explored more. If it's only because Ayanokoji helped her to overcome her past, Kei has it harder because her trauma is not something that she could easily talk about. So far she has only ever told Sato and Horikita about it, and after everything she has experienced, she deserves a happy ending more than anyone else. On the contrary, Ichinose's story of stealing a hairpin, and how she overcame it is nowhere near the famous spread your legs scene. Just to clear up a misunderstanding, Ichinose's story of stealing is often considered very cheap and not really serious by the readers. But for a Japanese person, stealing anything other than an umbrella is considered a very serious crime, so it's normal for Ichinose to become a shut-in because of guilt. However, Ichinose's story is considered over. She already confessed to everyone, and they accepted it and never brought it up again. She already has everything better, so even if she fell in love with Ayanokoji after it, her feelings shouldn't linger that much longer after she got rejected. Ichinose's transformation still leaves a lot of bitter taste in my mouth. When Ayanokoji chose to date Kei, I somehow hoped that Kei would manage to change Ayanokoji, and Ayanokoji could learn how to love someone from Kei. But from Ichinose, we know that Ayanokoji only saw her because she is the leader of her class, and Ichinose wouldn't be able to change Ayanokoji. If their relationship never develops into a brighter way, it's hard to expect a happy ending for both of them. Instead of being sweet and romantic, what we got from Ayanokoji and Ichinose relationship is the fact that humans could fall so deep into the darkness. It feels immoral when Ayanokoji is still dating Kei, and it's not getting any better even after they broke up. I know we still have a lot of volumes in the future where their relationship might change and develop further, but I doubt it could ever match the quality of writing from the first year arc. Ayanokoji's relationship with Kei showed us the common trope of relationships where the girls fall in love, getting shy, and are happy with the mix of embarrassment and jealousy. While their relationship didn't end as happily as she deserved, we saw Kei manage to become a better person even after their relationship ended. As for Ichinose, I doubt Kinugasa wrote her story with her happiness in mind. Their relationship is simply too mature for their age, and if we add Hiyori in the future calculation, it's hard to imagine Ichinose would become a better person and reach a happy ending. Her story lacks a lot of aspects, but since she is currently in the best spot to own Ayanokoji, I hope their relationship will offer something more valuable to the readers. Even if they cannot match Kei's story in terms of sweetness and enjoyment, at least I hope their story could touch deeper on the complexity of their personality. It might not be as good as Kei, but Ichinose's story is undoubtedly unique, so let's just hope the future volume will give her some justice.